Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Hell and Back. We are joined again by the amazing Cem Eren, the organ-based personal trainer, compassionate ninja, just really a fantastic example of using the mind and the body in ways that encourage excellence, that show how a life worth living is always something that's available, that's something that we can design, create for ourselves, and that with the right support, that we can craft moment by moment, squat by squat, step by step. So we are going to begin this part two of this adventure with a little visit to Cem's gym, which I won't say anymore. You'll experience it for yourself. So here we go.
Cem, right?
I'm Cem.
Oh, I'm stoked, man.
Come on in.
This isn't your typical gym.
Nah, it's not. Hi, my name is Coach Cem, owner of the Lion's Den Gym Fitness. We're in it right here. It's been over a decade I've been training clients. I'm very blessed with to be able to have clients from all around the world and in all kinds of different sports. You know, I have sometimes the feeling of when people come into my door and they tell me, Cem, I want to lose 60 pounds. I want to be able to run a marathon. And you tell yourself, look at this person, that I can't even walk a little bit. Something inside of me just tells me, you know what? I believe you. And my goal here is to be able to help anybody in any shape or any position. So sometimes younger coaches or trainers or clients ask me, hey Cem, who is your most important client? Like, what do you mean with that, important client? Well, who is your most best client you have? It's the one I'm working with right now, okay? So this is how I look at my business and my life. Whoever is here for me to work with me on that time is who I will take care of. Think about this. You have a professional athlete you're training and they're doing great things, and the lady afterwards works at the bank or something, right? She got ready that morning. She's excited to see you. She got dressed up just like the other athlete, right? So my goal here is to be able to take care of that person who I'm with. Good, breathe, breathe. There you go. Keep it rolling. Keep going. Relax up the top. Keep going. 3, 2, and down. Let's go. Good. Control it on the way back. Good. Up. I want to pull you, resist. That's it. Come on. There you go. Nice. Go. Hold. Good. Controlled. Good. Hold. There you go. Good. I like it. Let's do two more. Two more easy ones. Easy ones. Breathe. Give me long range of motion. Come on. Down, down, down. Breathe. Hold. And down. Nice work. Good. There you go. Now you're going through right now. Ready? Perfect. Have the left hand up. Again. In. There you go. You're coming towards me. I'm swinging. And then you come over. That's the whole point. Again. Down. Beautiful. One more. Perfect. I like that. Stop. Again. Beautiful. One more. That's how we perfect it. Nice work. Nice work, Mark. Good.
Day one done.
How you feeling?
Feel
Good?
Yeah.
All the times when you get frustrated, but session by session you get better at it, and look at this time. Sometimes you get mad because you can't get it, and this time you did it way better. Nice work. Good work.
Wow.
Wow. Wow. You know, what I really liked, and I liked a lot of things about that, Cem. Welcome back, by the way. I loved the way you talked to that man. It reminded me the way you would talk, that it would be no different if you were teaching a 5-year-old boy to ride a bike. And you'd be having the same tone of voice. Hey, you're doing it. You're trying. You're pushing yourself. Look what you did today. Good job. How you feeling? This whole thing, which it doesn't matter how old someone is. These are just human things. I just love them. I just love hearing that and realizing that. And it gives me perspective on, the degree to which I do that myself with my patients when I'm at my best. Is that I like to come across with that attitude because there's something very motivating about it. And there's something non-judgmental. There's something compassionate, but there's always something saying, you could keep at it, keep at it, keep at it. You can do this. We can do this together. So I just wonder if you put this really cool video together to introduce your gym and the work you do in the Lion's Den. So I wonder if you want to say anything more about when you have a client coming in like that, who clearly sometimes, I guess, gets angry or frustrated or worn out, and you're trying to encourage him.
I believe that no matter what it is you do in life, especially if you gonna be able to have that person coming in and you're trying to help them with what they have going on. They have daily things that they probably at the moment are dealing with, and that you're not supposed to try to fix those things. What my goal is to be able to make them realize that, hey, today we can work on this thing a little bit better, one thing at a time, and it shouldn't change because, like you said, if somebody walked through the door that has no, that is not an important client, whatever that means to somebody, because when people look at me, they see like very high-end athletes or big-time business people. It doesn't matter. Like you said, you come through the door. This is my profession. I'm excited to get you better, and hopefully with dealing with taking out some negative things that are happening in your life. Because if we right now, all three of us, sit here, we can talk about the things that are, negative and things that bother us. So you're not supposed to get rid of those things. You want to control. You want to learn how to make your life better by not dealing with those, but be able to say, hey, there are good things in my life, and my body and my mind and my spirits I have to work on. So these people come through the door. Your goal is to make them leave better, whatever that is at that moment. That's important.
Something that's so interesting that I'm getting from this conversation from last time and this time is that by focusing on strengths, by focusing on what someone's doing well, how they're showing up, by really leaning into to the positivity, to the engagement, that those things are amplified. And, I think by extension, when we're focusing on the things that aren't working, the negativity, the struggle, that those things tend to be amplified. And what I found in a lot of areas in my life, and sometimes with the people that I work with, that, there's a bias, and you mentioned this a little bit last time, towards, thinking that if we focus on the problem, somehow that's the better way. By focusing on what's not working, that's the strategic way to fix it. But it doesn't work that way at all from what you're putting forth. It's like the tendency is to say, okay, these things are already working. We don't need to bother with those. Let's work on what's broken. Let's fix what's broken. But your approach is totally different than that. And it's almost as if the things that are quote unquote broken or not working almost repair themselves by shining a light on the things that are working, that are good, that are uplifting. So I'm just curious if you've noticed that a tendency at all, maybe for people to want to kind of hone in on their less effective tendencies or qualities, and how that shifts over time when you're working with them.
I mean, like you said, you hear all the time when somebody comes in here, they're like, oh, yeah, push-ups, I can't do them. And not for me. I didn't even ask you about push-ups or squats. My knees are shot. I cannot squat. It's like, why are we going there yet? I didn't even ask that from you. I don't even have it in my program. You already Your mind is not your friend. You're already thinking of the things you're not good at. Now, as a trainer, do you want me to fuel that? Why would I do that? You're here to get better. Let's do the things you like doing and you're good at. And I throw those things that you're not good at a little bit in that session. When we zoomed out, an hour is done. You're like, man, I worked on my mobility. Yeah, with me sprinkling them in as we go versus your mobility is so horrible, Mr. Charlie, that we're going to just right away when you walk in, drill you with it. And you go like, man, the session was okay. I mean, I worked on my crappy mobility. Let's focus on
And
the
it's
things
really
you're good.
crappy.
So, like that's not a good approach, in my opinion, to be able to just feed, the stuff you're not good at. I'm not saying don't work on it. That's not what I'm saying. I want to find ways when we're done with that session that those things were worked on without you realizing that. And I didn't put the flashlight, like you said, on it, the spotlight.
Yeah.
It was like, I want you to continue getting better. When you leave the door, you feel like, man, I feel better. I don't want you to feel you're worse and start thinking like, man, you know what? I'm never going to get this mobility. Maybe I'll stop coming here. Like
Right.
you don't want to feed that.
No, everyone leaves kind of a winner. Almost, it's like you create the conditions for people to feel like they executed successfully, no matter where they're starting, no matter what's going on. There are ways to both honor, I guess, in dialectical terms, like both honor the reality of what is. You're not denying that those issues are there. You're including them, but because of the way you're structuring the language you use and you're structuring the session, the sequencing of movements that you're doing, you're letting people feel like, oh, no, I was successful there. I did that well. I can do this, which is then encouraging people to show up again and do more. And the byproduct of that is that they are winning, which is just, I think is a really interesting, just in terms of drawing analogies to therapy.
I like the way you
like
put
you
that.
said,
Go ahead, Jim.
it's true. Like, you said, we're going through hell. And again, you never know how much it took that person. When, again, it's been year 18, I'm doing this, I think, and you never know, even as a professional athlete, whatever it takes to come through that door that day and try to be present. So I want to make sure that my part, no matter what you're going through, is going to be more positive and better. So when that day is done, at least you like, man, I did get a good workout in, and it was nice to see you, Jam, and I felt better, So why if instead of saying, you know what, he's already going through hell, so it doesn't really matter what I do. I don't think that way. And even if it was just a little bit, I gamble with that. Even if you go like, hey, I don't know if it's different. That's success for me. If he thinks it was, I don't know if it was better. I'm okay with that. You know why? Because he didn't say you made me worse today. So I can take that, in my opinion, versus saying, I see it like that, because most of it is like, man, I do feel better. It was amazing. It was awesome. But even if I would hear like, I don't know if I got, because if you already think that way, you're already giving me a little bit light of maybe you did feel better. You just didn't realize it,
Jem, in one of our recent podcasts, we talked with a woman who was really stunning, inspiring person herself. And she's a psychologist, but she lost her child who was 2 years old, right? He died in the middle of the night. No obvious reason, right? And when she was talking about like now, and also we talked to a person who was dealing with breast cancer treatment, and both of them said a similar thing, which is similar to what you're saying, which is that you go through hell in the morning. You're going through a tough time in your life, and maybe you're with your children, the children you have now, and you're suffering, you're miserable, and how important it is to be able to just honor your misery, to just say, I am miserable, I'm suffering, to maybe cry, to express that to somebody, and turn around in the afternoon and take your children to the zoo and just look at all the wonderful animals and how much fun, and look at your children's faces and feel happy, that you can feel depressed and happy on the same day. That sometimes people get caught in a bad circumstance in life and they think all they can do is feel bad, or if they feel happy, they're pretending they're not feeling bad. You can feel happy and you can suffer. And I think what you offer is a very clear direction of, if you can't do this today, let's do that. If you can't win in this area, let's win in that area. Let's do the stuff you can do, which is a real can do. I mean, it's a can do type. It's sort of like the Lion's Den is a can do operation. It's what
it's a skillfulness, Jim. I mean, it is a skillfulness, Jim.
It is a skillfulness, Jim.
Like showing up with whatever you have and finding ways that it's workable, and not just workable, but also, that it becomes a metaphor or an invitation to other ways of meeting challenge, adversity, desire. It seems like what you give people is the kind of felt sense, the embodied sense of persevering through discomfort, through challenge, and then maybe not triumphing, but being equal to that. And that's, I think, a very fulfilling and uplifting sensation. So when you have that sense memory in your body, you can reference that. Even if you're like in a confrontation with your boss or whatever, you can look back and be like, no, I can stand on my feet on the ground and keep my shoulders back and know that I'm not going to get knocked down. I'm assuming boxing. I'm really curious about boxing in particular.
But first, wait just a second, Nicole, because you just said a lot of powerful stuff. I wonder if Jem wants to respond to that first, and then
sorry, my bad.
Before we go to the boxing.
I just trained my client today. She lost her husband, and I've been training her for 10 years. And I have clients who have they're going through cancer at the moment. The courage, she loves this place so much and what I can offer. And again, this is not just fitness related. Besides, like you said, you can't feel sad and happy at the same time. I seen her smile, trying to be like, hey, remember you used to do those hikes with your friends over the summer, like you're going to do it next year. I want to encourage her because she is going through a tough time and it's not going to leave her mind, right? But I don't want to feed that is not going to leave her mind. It's okay. It's going to stay there. But if more of the good parts you put in there, I think that would help people to go through that day. And sometimes we all got to just get through that day. Unfortunately, that's not a uncommon thing. And it's not uncommon for me, you, all of us to feel sometimes. I felt happy, but I felt sad too. But let me focus on this happiness that day. Let me just say, I had this good moment. Go to bed with that thought. If there's two, if you can pick it. Why do you have to go to the other part? And maybe tomorrow you get a little bit a higher version of that, and then keep yourself lifting yourself up, because you're not going to go from the ground into like a standing position. In boxing, you get knocked down, you go onto one knee, you take a deep breath, you might put your hands on your knees. You don't just jump up, one little thing at a time. So that's important to know for the listener that, yes, I do have bad. I have bad. I'm depressed. I'm happy at the moment. But when you leave that day and you go to bed, focus on that and then go to bed with that. Give that a try.
Yeah. I mean, you without knowing it, Jem, without knowing the kind of work that we do. I mean, actually, Nicole is a life coach. So she does a lot of coaching from models that I actually might not know as much about. But we also both know about this model that I also do, where we're teaching skills to help people regulate their emotions: depression, anxiety, suicidality, shame, fear. All that stuff is what we specialize in. And so, but what's so interesting about this conversation, I'm going to want to listen back to it, is that you're basically defining the attitude and the basic stances that somebody who's coaching people about negative emotions and positive emotions, it's the same stance that we want to have. There's nothing different here. It's, you're running a gym, we're dealing with people coming in
Yeah.
about their negative emotions, and it's all the same atmosphere, the same attitude when you teach skills. When you teach skills, would you agree, Nicole? And I don't know, I can't speak about the coaching work that you do.
No, I mean, I use dialectics, so it's there's a lot of similarities. But I do think that a lot of what you're saying in terms of having those options, recognizing that, that both positive and negative thoughts are always available, and that we have a choice. And if we're going to make that choice, it's not that we pretend or deny that there's something else going on, but that, consciousness allows us to shift our attention more towards something else. And I actually think that embodied work, physicalized work, which is something else that I do a lot with, is much more powerful than just working with, just talking and thinking, because there's a way that we internalize information with our bodies that I think is it's bigger than what our cognitive capacities can really understand or describe. And so, movement and integrating this kind of skill conversation into a workout, into training, I feel like is probably the most powerful way to really, because it becomes part of your cellular memory. It really becomes part of who you are. And you literally take a different posture over time. You hold yourself differently, and you have that kind of neural pathway of being with uncomfortable experiences and moving through them, that you can reference, that they're not just conceptual, they're lived imprints.
Mm-hmm.
I would agree that what all we do, for example, if it's even, that's where you were going to, sir, like we all require that we start just a little bit. As more I get to like, hey, tell me a little bit about this more. Come on, open up. You can't just go straight into a crazy workout. You can't life coach somebody. Hey, no, stop, move over here. It has to be done with caring, and be able to, that same speed that worked last time won't work this today. You need to each day find that speed. Okay, this person is moving a little slower. I want to find out why. You know what? I was up all day arguing with my wife. That's a whole different person that day. I can't use the same systems I done day before, right? So how do we amplify that? By being present and be able to read up to it. If we're not mentally there, how can I even read that pattern? And I'm just like going to do my work. It still gets semi-done, but it doesn't get done perfectly. And I think to be able to, if you either on the receiving end or giving end, like you got to work together. Give me a little bit more. Come on, a little bit more movement. Oh my God, I'm feeling loose. A little bit more. Same in your field, like good, you're opening up. Tell me a little bit more. Now you're releasing all these things, and then it's your job to keep that momentum going. And I think that's what you were trying to say. Like they're all similar in what you do.
Yeah. I'm curious, like when you're we talked about this a little before, but the way you watch people or work with people, it seems like you're listening with your whole body. You're kind of you're sensitive, not just to what they're saying or how they're moving, but to this combination of qualities and you're using information from what you know of them from the last time you've trained them. And you're kind of holding in your mind their vision of where they want to go. So I know that this depends to some extent on the client, but I'm just really curious how you are taking in what's happening with the client when you're with them in a given moment, and at the beginning of a session, for example.
Again, so easy. Just be right there. And when he moves, when he bends down to tie his shoe and he goes, I'm like, hey, what's going on? Everything okay? Yeah, I think I'm a little tired from the game yesterday, but see, if you don't pay attention to that, he's not going to open it up, right? That person is not going to right away say, because I'm not really hurt yet. I'm just not feeling. So if you pay attention and you 100% say, this is what I do, this is my passion. And a quick example of I'm watching the basketball player I'm training on TV, and the camera is on him, and he goes like this. He puts his hand on his shoulder and folds his eyes. I text him after the game. I said, "Hey, what's up with your shoulder?" He goes, "Nothing." I said, "Well, you touched it." And he goes, "Man, you pay attention to everything." Because
Yeah.
I didn't have a special skill. The skill is embedded in the person
Right.
who you are. You just gotta be
Pay
able to
attention.
focus, exactly, put the thing on it. So if you mind is somewhere else, and I really, again, how is this person, if somebody says, well, he must be just better than me because he can pay attention to this? No, that's not true. I got my own stuff going. I just like training with the discipline of getting up, and the first half mile before you run, you go like, this is never going to happen. And when you warmed up, you feel like you could do this all day,
Yeah.
you know? So same thing, pay attention to it. I tell myself, no, I'm not going to let myself be, well, I'm not going to just act like, you know what? I just want to get through this day and I don't care how he feels. Like I just want to, get this done with. I don't allow that to myself. I don't want to open up that door. I want to keep that door closed. So not force myself, but talk to myself and be like, no, the person is coming and I'm going to see what's going on. And eyes don't lie. If you pay attention, you can see if somebody is, man, you've been through stuff today. Come here, give me a hug. Take a deep breath. Let's start on the treadmill. Come on. Actually, you know what? Let's get in the ring. You want to punch something? Come on. Now they're letting things out and then they become this totally different person because the program you had set,
Yeah.
I can throw it away. It's gone because I'm not training that person at the moment. That's adapting to the situations. Only way you can adapt. Only way you can adapt is if you pay attention to the circumstance that's happening. Very simple, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Well, I interrupted earlier, and when Nicole was starting to ask you about boxing, and so I'm interested in that too. Like that seems different than other things that I've done, and except when I was in seventh grade, I have a picture of myself as in a boxing ring, but I don't remember doing it. Golden Gloves boxing in Albany, Oregon, and so I wonder, Nicole, did you have a specific question about boxing you wanted to ask?
Yeah, well, as we were just talking about mindset, I mean, because it's about it's a combat sport and it's relational. So we're really, there is a vocabulary of kind of you and your opponent. So there's the inner opponent, wherever your mind wants to go to take you kind of out of the game. And then there's the actual opponent. And I'm just really curious, like how you play with the game of fighting and the unpredictability of the opponent. And I know that's true with all sports, but I feel like it's, it's kind of a heightened drama with boxing to get people mentally agile and resilient. So they're kind of prepared for whatever comes.
I mean, let's take a step back. And you said combat sport, boxing. There's different things in boxing. Obviously the sport of boxing, and then training boxing, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you
tell me more about that distinction, though, because
okay, I will tell you. The sport of boxing is two opponents going in the ring, and they're gonna use, instead of like aggression or strength, very, very detailed patterns to be able to outsmart the opponent. It is way more than what you see of somebody getting it. Be able to land a clean shot on a top professional boxer, extremely hard. To land a clean shot without a setup punch is an insult to a boxer. So now you have this aspect of, let's talk real boxing. Somebody has more power than you and he is, like he hits harder than you, but you are smarter and you can outtake that from him by making him frustrated. Now it's like almost like a mind game where you go, I'm going to use this to beat him with that. And that happens in boxing every day where you're like, man, I was the better puncher. When Muhammad Ali fought George Foreman couldn't sleep for a year because he got beat by somebody he thought he can just annihilate and just beat. Why? Because he beat two people who Ali had a hard time with. So anyway, he outsmarted it. So boxing, in the aspect of how long it goes back in time and what it is way more than just getting punched in the face. Now, let's talk about training. Give me another example. For example, we are in the ring. You have gloves on, I have mitts, and I'm making you throw combinations of a jab, a cross, moving your head. Tell me another thing where you can't think of anything else in your life, and you are in the moment with me, split second. I have a client who says that's when she feels so free in life and not anxiety when she boxes.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wow, it's just crazy, right? But she goes, I feel free because my mind is on. I'm thinking, I'm sweating, I'm throwing these combinations. So
Yeah.
it is unbelievable to use that, in my opinion. That's helpful.
So interesting.
Right? Think about it though.
Rock
Yeah,
climbing. I mean, I experienced that kind of clarity. So like when you're just like, there's no space to kind of
No space, just
zoom
me
out,
and you.
like get like, no, it's just happening. It's happening and it's moving. That's interesting.
In
You know,
real time.
so and watching boxing, you know, Jem, both Max and Ruben, my kids, there was a local boxer who did training here. It turns out he was almost blind, but nobody knew he was almost blind because he was such a good trainer. He could be in the ring next to these kids and they would do a 3-minute round. And I remember watching because, you know, both kids played hockey and they played other things and they worked hard. But oh my God, 3 minutes in the ring was incredible. It seemed like it took forever just watching them. And the amount of concentration, the amount of focus, the amount of agility that was required. It was quite stunning to watch that. I don't think I've seen other than, I guess, there's very few things I've seen that occupy you as intensely as boxing.
I would agree, and I'm going to catch on what you just said. He just said he was like blind, almost blind, but nobody knew.
Right.
Because he did not focus on his blindness. You know what I mean? He can have boxing. How can you even be a part of it if you can't even see? You know, if you can see a little bit, if you can feel, if you can hear the punches. He didn't use his, yes.
He could say, apparently he had a little bit of blurry vision.
Correct. That's what I mean.
But that was good enough.
Yeah.
See, because he didn't focus on that negativity, that he doesn't have clear vision.
Totally.
He can be a better coach than anybody who can have full vision because he can
other
feel
senses
because,
are more
you know,
alive.
yes, 100%.
Yeah. Hey, Jem, I want to ask you a different question that comes up. You know, I've known in our area, there are some gyms that if you go into a gym, it's all of these sort of muscle-bound guys that are working out and maybe they're boxing and maybe they're lifting weights. And then you go in another gym that's specially for women, where it's like has a whole different flavor to it, and it's more, you know, people feel safe and they can go there and work out at whatever level. You seem to handle both in your gym. I mean, I know from even going back to Phoenix days that you've worked a lot with women, and I just wonder if you could say something about any differences over the years that you have learned or is it just the same process? Or is there some different process when you're working with women about trying to get stronger or trying to meet their goals?
So I actually train way more women through my whole life than I train men. The men seems to be like top athletes or like athletes in school. And right now I have a little bit more, but even my whole career, I had more female clientele, and the male were like into performance, trying to enhance it. But there are people that use a personal trainer to get better than that. I never had as many as of them. I did have some, absolutely. But, you know, women are incredible. Like, you know, like, you mean just having strong grandparents, mentally, physically, a mom raised by a strong mom that I value, what it means to be like a healthy, strong woman that believes she can do things. So I get this a lot when people come to my gym. They're like, mostly this setup you have will never be like, oh, this is for top athletes. Like, we don't deal with like women as much, you know? And when a woman can come here and be like, man, I have all this available to me, you know, women work actually a little bit hard. Women work harder than men, 100%. they push harder. Unfortunately, they drive through their goals, and it's again, to have another place where a woman feels safe. She feels like she's getting stronger mentally, physically, and sometimes they got so much joy and tear in their eyes when they tell me something, how they got better at something, what they do, or like their bodies changed, or whatever that is. It just gives me so much joy that I can provide that. And don't ask me how I even got into. I didn't wake up and choose to say I'm going to train more women or men. I didn't choose to say I'm going to train athletes. I had this gift where I can make people be opened up and help me make them get better. And that's how I took my journey. Like, people go, how did you train? How did you even get into this? Like, sorry, listener, I don't have any, I just stick to my craft, that I can relate to people and I can make them listen to me and help them achieve what they're looking for. And that's what sky's the limit. I don't have a clientele that's, I'm really focused on this or this. I don't have that.
I guess relatedly, or maybe not so relatedly, but I'm sure you've worked with people that have a hard time with their body image for whatever reason, that are really just aggressive towards themselves and how they look. And when there's hatred directed inward that way towards the body, and when the instrument that you're working with is the body, I'm really curious how when the default is to criticize, to look for the flaws, when that's really, really strong. And maybe it's even hard for people to tolerate positive feedback because the habit is just, it's been reinforced for so many years. How do you, you've been talking about this gentle step by step going from where someone is to where they want to go. And I'm just really curious how you meet those kinds of individuals where they are in the moment and help them shift.
So people who have very, very great looking bodies, who compete, they have more, they don't like themselves more than that. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So as higher it goes, as less they go. Yes. Two things I learned. Number one is the opposite person that looks at the person that is insecure, and all they hear is this: if I had your body, man, I would do all these things, right? So that doesn't help that individual, because all you're saying is, why are you not happy having this body? Right. So what I like to know is, what else interests does this person have in life, so I can put more light into that? Because why am I going to get into the body again and say, you know what? Yeah, how can I make him happy? You need a little bit more shoulders. Right. Let's find things.
It's a losing fight.
It's a losing fight. Don't even go that route, because it doesn't. Let me find things that he has interest in. I don't know. That's not related strictly to the body. Yeah. Then I can get a little bit of joy out of them when they feel that excitement. We talked about cars and engines and this. I'm like, we're looking in the mirror. I'm like, bro, look at your shoulders. They're really looking like they pop. And then he can be like, they actually are. So you got to bring him in their mind to a spot where they're not. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
I can't stick to that, because I don't know if that's the system I have, but I'm telling you, when I do it, it works. So that's all.
No, it's so interesting, because I think that I found the same thing. That it has very little objectively to do with a person's appearance ever. That sense of self-aggression. And so you're using that same approach of really focusing in on the underlying energy, the underlying mood of uplift, of joy, of motivation, of connection. And then you're exploiting that, not exploiting in a bad way, but you're really exploiting that as the kind of ground on which you build the work. So it's actually, you're kind of shifting to a different paradigm altogether, and you're building from a different place altogether. So you're almost bypassing that negative cycle, and then you're able to kind of translate back onto the body from that joyful place, which I think is fascinating. Really smart.
Thank you. And I really think that the core ingredients of this is, you actually care about this person to make sure that you really want to. If you don't have that, I don't give a crap what you do on your open time. I'm trying to train you and be like, hey, you look actually great. I don't know what's your problem. Yeah. And the person goes, yeah, you're right. But you never fix that feeling in his brain. He's going to still go home and have that. So now let's take a step back, for example, to a fighter or a professional athlete. Common things. Don't be afraid. You're better than him. You're stronger than him. Don't be afraid. You know, when I go home and sleep, I am afraid,
Of course.
right? So, hey, fear is amazing. You should have fear.
Yeah.
Now, fear gives you like fear makes you get out of the road if there's a car coming, right?
Yeah.
So use this fear in life to, and then as a coach, be like, hey, now you have that fear. We're gonna take it, but look at this is your fear in a glass half full. The things you did to prepare yourself is a full glass.
Yeah.
Now all you gotta do is make him convinced that all the things you have the fear, you did a lot of things. You're training, you're preparing, you're eating,
Right.
that you can overcome it. But you can't say don't be afraid. That's
Right.
that's not going to work.
Right. Reality acceptance.
Amen.
Yeah. It's exactly right. It's exactly right. I work with a fair number of teenagers and teenage girls that feel terrible about who they are, and they're very self-critical. And so I was working with one gem, and we were trying to figure out how she could respond to the fact that a boy walked past her without saying hello. This was like the trauma of the day. A boy passed her at her locker and did not say hello. And she just carried that all day. She carried that the night. She carried that the next day. And so when we were trying to come up with what can you say to yourself instead of saying to yourself, I guess I'm not appealing. I guess I'm Noah. I'm never going to have a cool boy or something like that. And I said, so let's write down everything you could say to yourself at that moment to get your mind out of that place. So the first thing she thought of, she said, well, I guess I could say to myself, well, it doesn't really matter. So I wrote that down. And then when she saw it, she said, no, that won't work. That won't work. I can't just say it won't matter, because it will matter. So we thought of other things, but it looked like you had something to say about that.
I do. How about this? That boy didn't say hello because maybe at that moment he's going through something way deeper than saying hello. What is if you would say hello and brighten that person's day? Sometimes you looking at it a different perspective maybe can help you better understand. Like if I go to the store and this lady was upset at me, right?
Right.
Why are you mad? And not to get off the subject, 2-3 days ago, I went to Whole Foods. I went to the salad bar to get me some food. I'm putting food in. There's a credit card right there on the counter where you put the food in. I finish my food. I take the card to bring it to the front. I see a lady at the self-checkout going, like kind of looking frantic, looking at her stuff. She walks back outside, I think to her car, comes back in. So I look at the name of the card and I say, what's your name, ma'am? She tells me the name of what's on the card. I said, I found your card. It was over there. Here you go. And I don't think I gave her the card and I said, here you go. And she goes, don't touch me. And I was like, no, thank you or nothing. And I'm like, I'm getting upset about this. But then listen, I don't know what she's going through. You know what? I did my good deed. If I found the card, I gave it to you. Yes, my brain wants to tell me, oh, thank you so much for finding it. No, I did my part. I can't get upset of what her reaction is. She's maybe going through something way deeper. The reason she left the card is maybe a bad phone call came in. I don't know those things. So if that young girl focuses on why did he not say hi to me, realizing that it could be deeper, that he is maybe going through something that is way more deeper than saying hi, maybe that helps you to say, you know what, it's not me. I don't know.
Right.
I just learned from that moment.
Right.
So,
all right. Look, I realize we've gotten to 5 o'clock and that East Coast time. I know it's 2 o'clock for you.
You are a compassion ninja, Cem.
You're compassion
really
ninja. Cem,
it means a lot.
It really has meant a lot to talk to you. And for me, it's like the deepest conversation we've had of stuff about what you do. I love it. I love it. This could go on and on. But you know what? I look forward to seeing you next time I'm out in Portland. And next time you come out to the East Coast, which you never come, but I'll see you. Maybe we would see you.
I'm going to make time. I'll make time to come out.
Make time. All right. All right. Nicole has to go. So
I have
we're
to keep talking. Stay there. Sure. But thank you so much. It was such a pleasure. I'll talk to you all soon.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Thank you.
Bye,
Bye.
Nicole.
Bye.
Bye, Nicole. All right, so let's end now. I'm just talking to everybody. I hope that I hope you got out of this what we got out of this. It's just sort of overlaps with so many other tools that we're trying to bring to people with this podcast. So, Cem, this was like totally unique for us. You don't know how unique this was for us, and it's just so it was great. It was great, and I'm going to carry a lot of the things you said. I wrote things down all over a piece of paper here for my own sake. So thank you. Thank you.
That means so much to me to be able to, in life you learn through everybody, and if you don't do that, it's your own mistake. I always say people like, thank you. I'm honored. I learned different ways of you guys were saying something, so I'm appreciative of that moment. Thank you.
All right. Well, this is great. So I want to say goodbye to everybody that's listening, and stay tuned. And if you have a way you can sort of send a message, one way you can send a message is actually anytime on my website, you can send me an email. Okay. So adios, everybody. I hope you have a really good week. You're probably getting this the week of Thanksgiving. So have a good Thanksgiving if it's about that time. Okay. Goodbye.
Happy Thanksgiving. Thank you.